This is Blog Talk Radio, and this is Metaphysical Insights. And Metaphysical Insights has been featuring some wonderful interviews over the past few months with various alumni and students of the metaphysical world that are involved with the University of Sedona, University of Metaphysics. And I am very happy today to introduce our guest, Dr. HermanSJR. And he has quite a amazing background. He's a AABA, B.Msc, we go on and on. Reverend is a global interdisciplinarian, a metaphysician, a researcher, an author who helps empower our global community by teaching his decades-long research on how hardcore no-nonsense sciences prove metaphysics. And for you, that includes quite a bit, Doctor. You also help others to learn and use metaphysics by showing the interconnectivity of everything, which I love, from music to marketing, art to linguistics, and more. So welcome. It's so nice to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I really appreciate you having me on the show, and I really appreciate the information that you give all of us via your show.
Well, you know, what I learn every time that I have a chance to talk to people such as yourself, of what an amazing rainbow and radiation of colors and energy is being put out there by all the different metaphysical alumni. And I have just found out that you've actually been involved in the metaphysical field for a little about 25 years or so. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. It's pretty much all my life since I was a kid. It's actually longer, but I say 25 because that's more more official.
And then you got involved with the University of Sedona, I guess about 3 years ago. But how did you first get involved in metaphysics?
Oh, well, that'll get into the unofficial area of getting into metaphysics. I actually started when I was a child, maybe 8 years old, and I can't fully answer that except by saying that I always felt that there's some kind of thing calling to me to say that things aren't right in the world with how people think and how people are healed and how the medical community and all that stuff. I won't get into all of it, but things were just not right. So what I did was I'm a complete nerd, 100%. I'm constantly studying every second I can. And I try to study as many different sciences, fields, disciplines as possible so I can lump them all together and tackle a certain topic, whether it's a positive or negative topic, whatever it is, and see how that topic can be resolved or even further advanced via these different fields, such as quantum physics, astrology, numerology, all the different sciences, psychology, atmospherics, everything I can possibly get my hands on, because obviously, as you and your listeners know, everyone, that the more minds you have, the more valid and powerful a solution you have. So it's the same thing with disciplines. The more disciplines you have, if you come from an interdisciplinary mindset, you can solve something much better than if you stay in that one field.
Well, there's certainly a huge amount of fields that branch out from that one term, metaphysics, as you obviously are aware since you've been involved in Reiki, as many of our fellow metaphysicians have. And it's kind of nice because you can say Reiki and people know almost immediately now what you're talking about. I started doing it even before I did Reiki. I thought, okay, I can say Reiki now. I don't say hands-on healing or anything. Even, you know, to chiropractic energy and astrology. Of course, Dr. Masters loved astrology and used to teach it when I was very young. And so you really, and it's interesting about how quantum physics is part of this. I kind of am sensing you've got a very hungry, searching mind. It seems like your mind is really always trying to seek for the truth behind everything. It seems like it's a driving force in your life. Is that correct?
Oh, that is perfect. I mean, my number one goal in life by far, as my wife will greatly attest to, I'm constantly studying, and I have I don't like to say this, but I have a great fear. It's quite big. of not having enough time to learn everything that, not only that I want to learn, but everything that I feel should be learned so I can do something to help things, whatever that something is. So, I mean, I hate sleep. I truly hate sleep. I've tried so many times to condition my body for less and less sleep using the polyphasic sleep cycles and all that stuff. So yeah, just constantly studying, always looking for knowledge so I can not only to keep it in my mind, but most importantly to bring it out there so I can say, metaphysics is valid. It's not a bunch of nonsense and, hippie garbage that, the academics say it is, the business magnates say it is, and all these different people and people who are doing Reiki or psychic things or astral travel or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Or people who are trying to get into that, they know very well that science does back them up. This is not a bunch of garbage. There's a trove of sciences that have been out there for hundreds of years that a lot of people don't know about because the information is not disseminated for various reasons. So I want to go out there, and I don't do astrology. I don't do Reiki. I'm a person of science who goes out and proves Reiki, yoga, meditation, everything. So people know that their gifts, their talents are validated completely 100%. And actually, the experiences of paranormal is a misnomer. Most people on this planet have experiences of what's called paranormal. It should actually be called normal. So all these different things, paranormal, metaphysics, it's extremely natural. And if people know this information, then they'll be more empowered and be able to go out there and do things that are much grander than what we're thinking we can do now.
Well, I can't help but when I'm hearing you talk right now, think about there's a lot of people such as yourself, and I know Dr. Masters, and many other in our group that kind of really are a little ahead of their time and understanding things that will, in time, and pretty rapidly, I think maybe within 100 years, be so used and a part of our lives. But it's important to be a way shower. And when you're ahead of your time, there's so many teachers who have always been ahead of the time that have come to the world. And unfortunately, a lot of them pay the price. It's not easy trying to share the truth before people want to hear it sometimes. I don't know if people ever want to hear the truth, but there's always a bit of a backlash. But I do have to say that you've created a wonderful website. We probably won't even begin to really even dip our toe into everything you're doing, but in the time that we have, but people can go to Dr HermanSJR.com. And I have to say, I compliment you on the beautiful job you did, and I guess you did your own website, but it's awfully nice. I'd sure love to have a website like that. It's a beautiful example of what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky, being that I'm a total nerd. I've studied everything I can possibly study, and still want to study a lot more. And web design is one of those things I've been doing for over 20 years. So yeah, I'm pretty fortunate that I don't have to hire, a marketer or a web designer or a social media expert and all that stuff, because my career before this, getting into 100% metaphysical, the metaphysical science that is, was a psychological strategist where I would work with companies all over the world and help the businesses on the psychology behind their strategy. So basically influence targets without those targets knowing they're being influenced. And those targets could be anything. Could be competitors, customers, employees, it doesn't matter. So just basically pooling all the resources to hopefully further the metaphysical science so I can get the information out there, and everyone who is either not certain of their own gifts or maybe a little bit embarrassed when people try attacking them for their Reiki practice, astrology practice, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Anything under the umbrella of metaphysical science, then I can give the information over to them and hopefully do a lot more.
Very, very interesting. Well, I know that you had the opportunity, because inquisiting minds want to know, and I think you have an inquisiting mind, that you did have the opportunity to call the office in Sedona at the University of Sedona, and upon certain questions, they referred you to Dr. Masters while he was alive. And you did have some conversations with him. And I was wondering if you'd be interested in some of the questions and what way he was able to have those communications help you.
Yes, definitely. I was really fortunate to speak with him for an hour on the telephone. I never met him in person, unfortunately, but I was extremely honored and had various questions. One of the questions that still bothers me today is that you touched upon it earlier, people who know certain things that perhaps the status quo is not ready to accept. It's very difficult for us to not have that thing, whatever it is, whatever information it is, it doesn't matter, accepted by the status quo if we know that's going to help them. So so many times I would talk with him during that hour or the staff and say, we have such powerful information. We need to get this information out there because, as we all know, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing, as the famous quote says. And I firmly believe in that. And it's very difficult for me to understand that he and certain other people who are more advanced than I am believe that, people who want the information will eventually come upon it themselves. It's not their time yet to come across that information. And that's really difficult for me because I am a huge humanitarian and I'm extraordinarily sensitive to people getting hurt. And to me, I was telling him, I'm like, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to get out there more. And he's like, no, calm down. We put ourselves in a certain position right now, and the people who are meant to find us will end up finding us. And that was very difficult for me to understand. Because when you have information that will help others, it's hard to just relax on it,
Well, so many thoughts occurred to me as you were speaking. And I understand Dr. Masters' point of view. At the same time, I understand you have this amazing power of understanding marketing. And I see that there is this need, and I think metaphysics is more acceptable now than it was when I began, almost 50 years ago, 45 years ago. But there's still such confusion and misunderstanding and misconceptions about metaphysics. I mean, part of me that wants to make metaphysics T-shirts and get them out there to the world, and have all these things available. And it's like, everyone should know about what's going on. But there is this also, things do happen in their own time. And so then the next question comes up, which you can always play these mind games with yourself. If you're asking the question, there is a reason you're asking the question as well,
Correct.
So here you have this amazing background in marketing and understanding and how to do, the social media and the website, which is a really great tool in this day and age for sure. So I think there is something about you wanting and having that drive to do it. And there is a reason that all of the people who find the teachings of metaphysics have that reason. They did find it. And what I love to see, and I want to see more of, is this interconnection between the different people. And knowing that, hey, you're not alone out there. I mean, there's a lot of just Dr. Masters alumni and students is a huge thing. But then there's people like you that were doing metaphysics for 22 years before you even found the University of Metaphysics. How did you find it?
I just, I found it from, what was his name? Dr. Joe Vitale. I came across him quite a few years ago, and maybe 7 years ago or so, and I started following him, and then I found out where he went, and he actually went to the university as well. And then I started looking, back and forth, nonchalantly looking into the university. Then I came across it and looked at it very heavily about 3 years ago. And it's very interesting because, a university like that, I mean, with metaphysics having such a damaged reputation, such a damaged image from millennia of people just attacking it and people who aren't as well educated to fight for